Hello, Ray here, not that one. I've been asked to do just a list of all the bits and pieces I took with me on my recent trip along the Waveney. Bit of a kit list, if you like, of all the stuff I took with me. I was travelling particularly lightweight because I knew there might be a few issues along the route, and yeah, I didn't want to be lugging a lot of heavy gear around, so this is what I had with me. So I had two bags. I had the Cedar Summit 35 litre bag, and this bag was the one that I kept anything that I wanted sort of easy access to, and all my camera gear. So that's my drone, all my stuff in my cameras, microphones, spare batteries, leads, all of that kind of stuff, which obviously everyone's got their own kit. So all of that was in this bag, and I had a spare pair of quite lightweight shoes. I think these were some I used for my cycling. So I had those with me. Most importantly, along the Waveney, a fairly nice little saw. So this is just like a pruning saw. It's a very good one. Cuts on push and pull stroke. It whips through a fairly large branch, you know, sort of arm size, pretty quickly. Quite useful. I then had a pair of sunglasses. I had my beanie hat in case we got, you know, lots of hot sun. And I also had a pair of lightweight, these Montane, very lightweight gloves. Not because I was going to get cold hands, but more after a lot of paddling, your hands can start to get quite sore. So I usually have something with me so I can just pop on if that happens. As it turned out, I didn't particularly get sore hands on that trip, so that was okay. And the other bits I have in here is lightweight Gore-Tex over trousers, which are obviously waterproof and nettle proof, quite important. And similarly, I've got a Berghaus lightweight jacket as well, waterproof, pack light jacket, and that was in that bag. So that was all quite straightforward. So let me just pop this back. So we're nice and tidy. Right, so that's that lot. Now, this bag is a Seal Line 70 litre. Yeah, there's quite a bit here considering I haven't got any water in here, but yeah, easily manageable. Now this bag had everything else. So obviously when I set off, I was wearing my regular clothes, usually shorts, t-shirt, fleece, and I was wearing these waterproof shoes. I mean, these were quite cheap off of Amazon. They're Chinese. To be fair, they have actually been doing quite well. They're reasonably grippy. The only thing I would say about them is they did take forever to dry. But certainly in the canoe and when you had to dive out into, you know, the water, these were great actually. And I'm probably going to take them to Sweden as well. So I always have a water bottle to hand. Now this is usually in one of my dry sacks, and I just secure it around the centre thwart. So that's my preferred bottle. And these are the dry bags that I normally use. So that would be in one of those, possibly some other bits and pieces. And this one is where I keep all my sort of valuable stuff, I suppose. So in here, I just had the one power bank with me. This is a large power bank. I know this will easily last me 3 days because I've used it before. So that's a 20,000 power bank. And so that will charge my phone, camera, microphone for a good 3 days without any issues. And my lead was with it. So that goes in there. The other thing that goes in here is my car keys. And my phone I usually put in this Aquapack bag, and usually that phone will often be in this bag, or sometimes I'll have it around my neck if I'm expecting to use it for pictures or whatever. Or sometimes I just secure it to the fort as well. So that's everything that goes in that bag. So that goes in one of these. Right. So now we're moving on to like campsite stuff. So I always have my tiny little Z mat here. It's only small, but it's absolutely brilliant. So I'm going to use it now because it's very, yeah, this goes with me on every trip without fail. Next important thing is I always make sure I've got a bag for all my rubbish. So that goes in one of those. Then we're on to big water bottles. So I take 2 Nalgene's. These are both 1 litre. So I had one of these. I took that green bottle was full of water, and one of these was full of water when I left, because that kept me going. And the other one, when I find it, we will find it in due course. The other one I used when I was filtering water out of the river. Now generally, if I can help it, I never normally drink river water. So usually I'll take water with me. If there's an opportunity to fill the bottles up on the way, I will. As I did at Hummersfield Black Swan. When I nipped in the bunkie, I bought a bottle of water as well. I've got all the filter kit in here, and if I filter it and I boil it, obviously I can drink it. But I'd only do that if I had to, because the rest of the time, why risk it, basically. Now I always take this DD Superlight Tarp. This is the small one. Now this is only 2.8 by 1.5. I often take this if I'm using my hoot bivvy, or sometimes I'll have this with my hammock. It's just a very small, lightweight tarp. On this trip, I took this because if it really started throwing it down the rain, I could just tie it up into something really quick, or even wrap it over me and keep myself dry. So now we come into 2 of these. Actually, before we get into that, let's just do 2 other easy things. I did take some suntan lotion. I don't always take this big bottle. I'll squirt some of this into a Ziploc bag and take that. But because it has been quite hot, I have been taking the whole bottle with me. And similarly, I had some in case there's any midges or gnats or mozzies. This is Avon Skin So Soft, which sounds a bit of a joke, but actually that is a really good repellent. And it smells lovely and makes the skin soft, so why not? Right, so in these 2 is a whole mixture of stuff. So this is just a cheap tin I got, but that does fasten together. So I've got my light, which I always have it with me, obviously. My long titanium spoon for eating my food with. I have some olive oil because I like to do cooking, and in here I have my flex tail. So I use that to blow up my airbed, and also it's a useful light as well. So when you're in the tent or whatever of an evening, you can have that lit up. This is for my Trangia. So this is just a small basic kit. It's a very small, 4 sides and the base, so I can put my Trangia burner into that, which we'll get out in a moment. Then I've got my Sawyer Squeeze Mini, which is what I filter my water with. I also take the syringe just in case it gets clogged, and I have this bag so I can fill the bag up easily with water because it's got a nice wide neck on it. So we just fill that up, attach that to the bottom, and I'll then hang that up in a tree, bush, whatever's convenient, and that will filter my water. So that's all of that stuff combined with this one. So in here there is where is it? That's it. So that's the That's the lead I used for that bag. So that's the lead I used to hang that up in a tree. I think on this trip I had it hanging off the side of my canoe. We can do that easily. So this tin here, which at the moment has got all of this stuff in it, it's a whole mixture. So a lot of the things that are in this one at the moment weren't in here for this trip. They were in another bag in there, because this one, this one had my food in. So I took some sausages which were pre-cooked, I had some bacon which was pre-cooked, I had cheese, some vermicelli, tins of tuna, various biscuits I took with me as well, oat cakes, and they were in a combination of the bags which I'm going to show you. And this basically is like a cheap army mess tin, and this is what I used to store those in. And when I reheated, I had 2 eggs as well. When I reheated my sausages and bacon, that was in this tin. But obviously during the trip, I then, when it was no longer needed for that, I've used it for this. So I've got a fire lighter there. Didn't really need it for this trip, but I've got it. And I got my lighter. If I eat any meat, I usually get it stuck between my teeth, so I always make sure I've got a toothpick with me. Can opener, which it just lives in here. It isn't something I would have needed on that trip. I've got some tablets here which are purified water. These are Oasis Hydrochem. So I think you drop one of those in and leave it in a litre of water for 30 minutes, and that will sterilise or make your water safe to drink. I usually take some electrolyte mix as well, especially when it's hot. So I often have one of these for each day, so I can just recharge. Now those 4 pegs are for, I don't even know why they're in this tin, because I wouldn't need them on this trip. I'm trying to think why I had them in there. Oh yeah, for the tarp. So yeah, they're in there because if I had to put that tarp up, I've got those for that. I've got a pair of tick pliers, a little intensive moisturiser there, in case my lips get bad in the sun. I always have like my Swiss Army knife as a backup, and then I am quite a fan of this Tyler's coffee, so I'll have oodles of that. It's more limit there, unless otherwise then I'll have some bars with me. This is just an example, but I have several different bars just as snacks really. Sometimes I'll take a Snickers, although I try to limit those, but I do have those as well. A few wet wipes, some tissues. I have quite a few of these as well. I find them quite good. And toothbrush and toothpaste. That is the limit of my personal hygiene. I'm on the river canoeing. I'm not there. I'm not there to smell nice. I'm just there to do the job. And I don't take any deodorant or anything else with me. Apart from I can squeeze a bit of that on if I want to. But that is it. So I think you saw this. This is my little kit here. That's just got salt, pepper, various herbs and spices in there, so that whatever I'm cooking, I can jazz it up a little bit. Doesn't weigh a lot. That's quite useful. Right, so now we get on to the other. This is the other pouch, which normally houses quite a lot of stuff. When that isn't in these tins, that's in here. That's my other water bottle. So if I'm using one of these for river water, then I'll normally stick some tape on it, so I know obviously which is which. Right, and there's another spare coffee there. Right, so in here I'll take my 2 titanium mugs. So this one is a 750ml, which I can use that if I'm doing any dehydrated meals, or this one I cook my vermicelli in it. This is the one I have my coffee in. And in here I've got the MSR Pocket Rocket, so that's a really super lightweight gas stove. So that lives in there, and I'll normally make sure I've got at least 1, if not 2 coffees in there as well. because I do like to stop and have a coffee. So that's there. That's just a cheap old knife and fork spoon set. Now on this trip, in fact on that every trip, I'll always take some gas. These are light. If I want to stop for a quick coffee, I'd rather just have something I can just light, boil up, and that's done. I haven't got to faff around with it, so that's why I take those. I also took my trangia and some meths, just so that I can use it. So I use this in the evenings to do my meals, but if you use this just to make a quick coffee, then normally you've got to then hang around, let it cool down before you can, and make sure it hasn't got any meths left in it before you can move on. And often I'm in a, I want to get cracking sort of thing, so I don't want to do that. So that's the reason why I've doubled up on that kit. I've got a basic windshield there to just unfold it out and protect that. So in here I've got a little wash up kit, so there's a sponge scourer there, a dishcloth and a bit of fairy liquid just for cleaning the gear up. The world's smallest, most stupidest titanium plate. The only thing going for it is it is very light. You can't really get a decent meal in that. But there we are. That's what I've got. You can always fill it up twice. And I've got this little. This is handy just for if you want to do any washing up, but it's also handy to keep all the gear in as well. So, like I said, some of the gear was in these tins. It would have started life in here, probably in a bag, the one that I use for rubbish. And then as those get emptied, I sort of put stuff back into those. So that's the way that works. So I think we're now dealt with the stuff I normally use and food and drink. So comes next is all the other stuff. So I take a very small first aid kit. It's small, but it is quite comprehensive. There's pretty much everything in there that I would use. I'm not going to empty it all out, but it's got a bit of everything in there that I would need to use for myself in case of any emergencies. But we're not in the middle of nowhere, are we? Aside from all my other food, I'll normally have at least one of these as just purely as a backup. I think this one has been on the Star trip, it's been on the Waveney trip, and I've still not used it. If I need another meal, then it's there. The other meal I had with me on the Waveney trip is I had a little black pot with huel in it. So huel is another dried food. You put the dried food in the pot, and then you add, I think, about 300 to 400 ml of water, and that just makes a quick meal. It's got all the vitamins, minerals, and protein, all the stuff you need. It's a one meal pot basically. So I'll usually have one of those with me. I haven't got that here to show you, but I'm sure you can use your imagination. So we're now on to sleeping stuff. So that is it. Yeah, bag is empty. So on this trip, something I don't normally do, because usually I much prefer a hammock to anything else. But along the Waveney, there is places where you can hang a hammock, but they're not usually when you want them. So you might pass the odd place, but you can just find yourself in the middle of somewhere where there is no trees when you want to spend the night, which I did on both occasions. So all I took was this nature hike tent. That's a Cloud 2, everything in this bag, so it's the pegs, the poles, the inner, the outer, and the footprint. It's all in here. It weighs just under 1.8 kilos. I've just weighed it, and that's everything in there. So I can break this up so I can keep the poles, pegs separate, any combination that I chose to. So I had that coupled up with my Thermarest Neo Air, which is a very lightweight but very comfortable mat. So that's what I had to sleep with, and this is pretty much becoming my favourite sleeping bag really. I've got a few sleeping bags, but this Alp Kit Pipe Dream 400 is lovely. Again, it's super light, super warm. It's a nice sleeping bag. Really enjoyed that one. I've got another Four Season one which is full of ducks down it. It's a brilliant bag, but you don't really want that. I mean, I have used it when I've camped up on the Ben and various places high up or in the Alps, but you know, for normal use it's far too warm, far too hot and far too expensive. And then I've got little tiny lightweight ones which I'll often use when I'm bike packing, but that's fast becoming my favourite. And I think lastly, I've got this bag here. Now this is just basically all my spare kit. So I've got one lot of kit on. This jacket pretty much goes with me everywhere. I wish I had more of them. I've had two of these. One of them is completely destroyed. This is a Rab lightweight jacket. I've had it for absolute years. I absolutely love it. Sadly, that is starting to get past it. So, and you can't buy them anymore, so gutted about that. But there we are. So if it's cold, obviously I'll wear that at the beginning of the journey, as I did this fleece. I only take one fleece, and I was wearing that at the start. And I had a spare pair of shorts, just as well, because I did need them on this trip. And I had a spare t-shirt, two pairs of socks, and I had a towel. Obviously a huge towel, but again, that was quite nice, as I did need a towel. And lastly, I take these with me. I don't quite know why. These are just like sort of very thin, sort of insulated leggings, really, I suppose. I mean, these are a throwback from my sort of winter camping kit, but they're useful just to chuck on. I don't remember what make these are actually. What are they? Yeah, Helly Hansen. So yeah, just lightweight sort of bottoms, really. Sometimes I'll pop them on just to sleep in. That's the only time I'd ever use them. I did have these on my bike packing trip as well. You probably saw them if you've seen that video. When it's really cold in the morning, sometimes it's just nice to chuck these on before your cycling shorts, just for a bit of added leg warmth. But you know, once you get moving, you warm up anyway. But so this is the extent of all the gear that I took with me for that Waveney trip. Now let's be frank, I mean, it's 2 nights, 3 days. I was never a million miles away from anywhere. I had places where I could resupply. I then went through Bungay, and I did nip to the shop in Bungay, buy some stuff. Then went to Gelston Locks pub, so you know, there was places where I could resupply if I chose to. So clearly, if I was in the middle of nowhere, then I would expand on this. But this is, I think you can just say this is a bare bones, pretty much everything that you might need, but no frills and nothing else. So this is a lightweight setup. So hopefully that will help people. I mean, I've been doing this sort of thing for for quite a few years, one way and another. The benefit of when you're in a canoe is, apart from if you do a portage, the kit don't really matter, because you can just take a ton of kit and it's in a canoe, and I say, unless you've got to do a portage, you can take pretty much what you want. When I've done a lot of work hiking and you've got all this on your back, then yeah, it's a completely different ball game. So that's when you learn how to pack light, because if you're carrying it on your back, especially like in the Lake District or in Scotland, yeah, it's damned hard work. So you really make sure you are down to the bare bones. But so, you know, you can certainly get away without some of this gear, but this is what I chose to take with me for that trip. And pretty much I used everything, really. I didn't use the first aid kit. I didn't use either of those. A few other little bits and bobs I didn't use, like the little tin opener and stuff. I didn't end up using that small tarp, but you know, that was for what it was. It was a good emergency backup. So yeah, so that's it. So hopefully that's some use. Now I don't know when this video will air. My Sweden trip is fast approaching, and obviously, as you know, I'm deep in building this canoe at the moment. So I've just want to get this one done, and I'm not sure when that's going to air. I would like, if I can get enough videos sort of in advance, then I might have this come out whilst I'm away. So I can't guarantee when you'll see this, but at the moment we are at the very end of July. But you'll see it sometime in August or September. So yeah, good stuff. Right, see you all later. Bye.